Welcome to the What's Your Story podcast with Al and Sal. Thank you for joining us today. Al, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Are you well rested, ready to go?
I'm raring to go.
Ready to go. You look alive.
I'm well.
Alive and
Vacation's done. I'm back.
Yeah, you're back in the business. You're ready. You ready to do your guitar lessons?
That's it. The guitar lesson. No more sloths.
No more sloths. You're good. All right. Well, today, Al, we have a special guest that we've been wanting to have on for a while, and it's Mr. Pastor Sherrod Jones. How are you?
Well, and yourself?
Very good. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
It's funny because I read your little bio, and I saw that you are a September baby, September 17th.
Yes, sir.
So you're a year and 5 days older than me, you know.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a year and 5 days. You look a lot younger.
I feel younger.
Yeah, you look good. You're looking good.
Yeah,
looking good.
Thanks. It's been a journey.
Yeah, I mean, I get a little more gray than you.
Well, mine's probably a little dyed.
See, that was a secret you were supposed to keep, Pastor Sherrod. But you're a pastor, so you got to be honest.
Yes, got to be honest.
You got to be honest. So yeah, September, you're a Virgo, and it's funny because the last guest we had on was a Virgo as well. So maybe we should just keep that
in the right line.
Yeah, we should keep that going.
Keep the momentum.
Absolutely. And you're from. When we're going to get to this, but you and our next scheduled guests have something in common as well. You both have Baltimore ties.
Really?
Yeah. So you're gonna have to listen to that one. I'm not gonna give that up. You have to actually tune in.
All right.
And listen. So, speaking of that, you were born in Baltimore.
Yep, born and raised.
What do you remember living in Baltimore? How old were you, first of all, when you came over? How long were you there?
Well, I've been here since I was 11.
11, okay. And what part, and what was that like?
It was an experience. I was in the Baltimore school system there. I actually lived with my grandmother.
All right.
When my mom had me, she actually ended up moving here to Providence. That's how I got to Providence. She got married, moved here. I stayed with my grandma for a while till I was about 11. I went to elementary, almost to middle school before I came here. All my family lives there. My sister, I have a sister there. My dad's brother's there. Cousins, uncles, they're all there.
Yeah.
The one thing I do remember the most there is my dad was murdered in prison when I was 3 years old there. And so I got a lot of ties there.
Wow.
You know? A lot of family members that not alive anymore that live in Baltimore. I have another uncle that was murdered in Baltimore. Yeah, it's been a journey.
Yeah, I mean, I know the crime rate is probably ridiculous.
It's
ridiculous
like,
there.
You know, people fear going there because it's like home for me. Because I've been here since I was 11, but I go back every year. My grandmother's still there. My grandma owns a house there.
Oh, nice.
And so I make it my business to go down all the time and check on her, make sure she's all right.
Right.
She's 81. Most of her friends are deceased. And she's making new friends, at the new church that she's at. But she's doing well.
That's good.
Yeah.
Were you going to say something else?
I don't know. She don't know.
So, from what I understand, you said your grandmother raised you.
Yes.
And you did get raised in a Christian home.
Yes.
Was she very strict on you?
Really, I don't remember her being strict. I mean, she did a very good job raising me without a man helping her.
Yeah.
She had some male friends that, spoke life to me and, try to keep me in the right direction. But, you still was a boy growing up, how that can be.
You need that father figure.
Yeah, she taught me respect, which I was saying a couple Sundays ago that we don't hear yes ma'am and yes sir in this generation. They don't know what respect is.
That's going away.
She taught me that.
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful for that.
Absolutely. It's something that you carry with you even to this day.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So now I also read that you were a very talented young man at an early age. You had this God-gifted talent.
Yes.
Why don't you tell our audience about that?
I started playing drums at 3 years old. By the time I was 13, I did a couple tours with some choirs. My grandmother was a part of an organization down there. I believe it was Church of God. And all the conferences and stuff, I used to play the drums. I was the youngest kid there.
Wow.
Playing drums. And I enjoyed it. I played drums my whole life, basically.
Wow. See, we kind of got similarities too. When you were 3, we were both talented kids when we were 3. When you were 3, you started playing the drums.
Yes.
You were playing the full drums. It wasn't just playing
I
pots
was
and pans,
told-
right?
My grandmother bought me a drum set, and that was it.
So you didn't. You just picked up on music.
Yeah, my son actually started with pots and pans.
Okay.
My son actually he started with cans.
Okay.
He didn't even know I could play drums.
Oh, really?
He didn't know. I came in the house one day in his grandmother's house, and he had like three cans on the floor and 2 spoons, and I was like, "Wait a minute, this guy got some rhythm.
Wow.
What's going
I guess
on?"
it's in the blood, huh?
Yeah, it's in the blood, man.
Yeah, I mean, when I was 3, I partied on the toilet.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah,
I was
I mean-
13. Were the drums an escape for the streets from you, as far as?
well, he was 3 at the time.
no,
right?
but I mean, later on. I mean, not
I hope he wasn't in the streets at 3, Al.
Well, no, I wasn't in the streets at 3. So when I came to Providence with my mom, I started playing drums in her church, the church she was attending. And I think by the age of 14, I got kind of wrapped up in the Providence fast lane. In that particular time, it was in a high heroin epidemic, and somehow I got myself wrapped up selling heroin and crack cocaine. So I got caught selling crack at 14 in Providence, and it kind of shifted gears a little bit. I didn't end up in jail or nothing like that. I did some probation, but I still was going to church. But by this time, I'm introduced to smoking weed, so I'm in church, I'm high. My mom transitioned out of the church we was in to another church. I kind of was left there, and I'm 16 now, and so it's like, I've just fended for myself, you know what I mean? But the drums, I stopped playing drums. Around 16, I stopped playing, and I never got back on a drum set again until I was like 22.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you were going to church. You were going to church every Sunday, I presume.
Yeah, the music is what kept me.
What kept you there?
Yeah.
But you were kind of living like that double life.
100%.
Now, was it just the people you were involved in that got you into you said there was a heroin, you got busted for heroin, you said?
Crack.
Oh, was it crack? Okay.
I was selling both, but I got
okay.
caught with crack.
Okay, and that was at 16 or?
I was 14 years old.
when you got busted for crack.
14 years old.
Yeah. And what did that lead into from there?
I felt like I still spiraled downhill. My mom couldn't understand it, so with her it was more like a hardcore chastisement with it. And, not nothing abusive, but just, sure, she was hurt, that I was doing that, but I felt like, hey, I wanted this, you didn't want to buy it for me, so I found another way to get it, and so, I kept selling drugs, and I went from there to, more drugs, selling drugs, and just smoking weed. I used to do like mescaline pills, stuff like that. And then I got into gang violence.
Okay.
I got into gang violence because it comes with the territory. If you're selling drugs, violence eventually shows up.
It comes along with it.
Yeah, it comes with it. You don't sign up for that. It's just like you don't wake up one day and say, I'm going to be a crack dealer. Just kind of your environment. I was growing up in a neighborhood that had nothing to offer us. You walk to the corner store, hey, what's up with you? So it's like it was influence everywhere you go. So it was like it wasn't positive, And so in my time of in getting into gang banging, I got shot twice. The first time I got shot was a 357. Guy was coming at me with a ski mask, shot me, and then I got shot again at a club called the Living Room.
Oh, I remember the living room.
Yeah, I got shot out there one night, and that was like that was 94, so I got shot in 92. 94, my son was born in 92. But in 94, I got shot, and it was just like, started having these films like, maybe the next one, is going to take me out of here. I don't know.
Right.
Because there's always somebody tougher than somebody else. I mean, bullets are not prejudice.
No.
And so I just got to a place, I got tired of the street.
Right.
And I've been in a lot of, I beefed for years, gun violence for years, and, I just, God had a plan for my life. I got out the streets on Father's Day, 1995. I was in church, and the preacher was preaching, and I just felt something that I never felt. I grew up in church, but I didn't know nothing about. I just knew music. Like we just go to church, we play music, and we're having a good time. And can you sing one more song? You know what I mean? But
How many friends did you lose in that fast lifestyle?
by the time I was 19, I probably been to about 18 funerals.
Wow.
More associates than friends. My close core circle of friends, only one was murdered. The rest of us are still alive today. I have two cousins doing life in prison here. I have a cousin in Baltimore doing maybe double life. I don't think he's ever coming home. But you know, it was a journey. You know, a huge journey. But giving my life to Christ, you know, sometimes people say, "Oh, that's the best feeling," you know, and it was a good feeling. And then, you know, even getting saved, I got a testimony.
Yeah,
you know, and so I ended up getting married to my son's mother, and to me, it was like forceful, like the church, like, you got to get married, you can't be fornicating, you can't be living with a woman, can't do this, can't do that, can't do that. And I was like, there's everything concerning God what you can't do, you know. And so because I grew up in church, I had a respect, and, you know, we grew up in that yes sir, yes ma'am era. So it's like, I respect my elders. Yeah. We got married, you know, we was young, and, you know, I think I was married for about 16 years until I, you know, got divorced, you know, and by then we had 3 kids.
Now, do you feel as though because you were like, quote unquote, following the rules, can't fornicate, you have to get married? Do you think like you said, you kind of got forced into it? Do you think that was like ultimately the demise, or was it a lot more involved as far as your first marriage?
It was a lot more, you know, just like, it just didn't work out.
Yeah.
Irreconcilable differences, you know, I don't like to, like, you know, because, you know, I got kids, I don't want to embarrass my children by telling the whole story. But, you know, I prayed on it for a while. It took me a long time to walk away.
Right.
I waited till my daughter was 13, you know, before I, like, you know, I'm done, you know, and I just followed the plan of God with it, you know, and I was pastoring, you know, and that was tough.
That had to be tough because
yes.
now people, all eyes on you, right?
Yeah,
you're under the microscope.
The microscope was huge,
yeah.
You know, but I was tired.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I had to just do what I had to do, you know, and I think honestly it was probably the best decision for both of us.
Right.
Just one of us had to make the decision, you know, and I made the decision. To this day I don't regret the decision, you know, because I became more of a healthier person, you know. And in marriage I was stressed. I ended up with diabetes. And I became 509 pounds.
Oh, wow.
You know, I had a sugar rate, man, like 375 that wouldn't even go away if I fasted for 2 weeks with just water. It wouldn't go away. Then I had a surgery on my leg because I had a growth here. So many complications I was having, you know, and to me it was all connected to my heart.
Right.
You know, just heart renewal, you know, mind renewal, you know, and just, you know, just making a change of really getting more serious with God, you know, instead of worrying about the past and the struggles and, you know, why I ended up the way I ended up, you know. And, you know, I had a couple good mentors in my life, you know, Bishop Williams, Jeff Williams from the Cathedral, King's Cathedral.
Yeah.
He was very intricate in my life. He was there with me through my process of going through my divorce and different things like that.
Yeah, it's good to have you have to have mentors in your life, you know.
Yeah. And he understood, and you know, you need that mentor that doesn't take sides.
Right.
You know,
He's going to be honest with you and upfront with you, right?
Yeah, because it takes 2 people, you know, and so, you know, I mean, but I'm happy now, you know, but I went through a lot. I went through a lot. I ended up in a hospital 5 years ago, all connected to stress, and you know, I was in the hospital for 60 days. The first 30 days I was incoherent.
Oh, wow, 30 days.
Yeah, they had me on like all type of like strong medication and stuff like that, and I thought I was gonna die there. You know, in the process of 60 days, I had 17 surgeries because I ended up getting MRSA when I was in the hospital.
Oh, wow.
So I went through all the surgeries and all the meds, and I just didn't think I was coming out of it, but I made a choice on that bed to live, you know. And it was crazy because I actually had just got remarried. So I got divorced in 2011, and I got married 5 years ago. And I was like, man, like, I just get married. I'm in the hospital, like, putting all this pressure on my new wife. And it's just like, but she was a trooper. She stuck it out with me. She was there. She, you know, my kids are very significant in my life. You know, my kids make sure I don't want for nothing, and they were there, and they're still there.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
I said that, I saw that, and you also said about, you know, those titles, whatever title you have, is not important to you, but it's the title of father, son, uncle, whatever. It seems like you're really family oriented, and that's what's really important.
Yeah, family's first. You know, even like I'm a pastor now. It's God, it's Sherrod, my wife, kids, ministry.
Yeah,
you know, I got 5 grandkids. You know, and,
wow.
You know, I stay busy.
Nice,
you know?
I'm sure.
But I like doing family.
Yeah.
I like doing family, you know. Especially when you grow up with no father. And, you know, my mom and my grandmother, you know, they made sure that I was just okay. And the streets just start raising me a little bit, you know, learning, you know, fatherhood from the streets, because it's only older male figure I knew. But, you know, as I began to come into a man myself, I understood that I defend for myself. Right. You know, I really learned this thing.
Did after being shot, did that change your outlook on? Not too many people can say they've lived through.
57.
Well, yeah, of course. But did it give you a different outlook on life after that? Looking back,
the first time, no. The first time it made me more angry,
right?
More hardcore.
That the first time was that gang related? Or you don't know?
No. You know, something transpired at a club one night, and I ended up getting shot at the after hour of the restaurant outside on Broad Street. And the most significant thing about that was the man that shot me. You know, Providence is small, and I'm fully connected. So the streets told me who shot me by morning.
Wow.
And the guy had a ski mask on. And, you know, I was in the sneaker store one day, and the guy walked up in the store. And, you know, I had my gun and everything, and he was just like, you know, can we talk? And I'm like, I'm shot. Like, what do you want to talk about? And he was like, man, my mom died. I lost my mom, and, you know, maybe that was my punishment. And I always was just a sympathetic type person. I was like, all right, yeah, man, sorry to hear about your mom. But I didn't want to talk. Yeah. You know what I mean? And to this day, me and the guy talk. Yeah. You know, we talk. I invite him to church. You know, he's welcome to come to church. One day he had somebody come say, you want to come to church with my boyfriend, but my boyfriend said that you had an altercation. I said, I don't live in the past. Yeah. You know, I'm free from the past. So, you know, you coming to church is a testimony for both of us. We can stand up and testify, you know. The second time I got shot, I was more worried about my son being fatherless like me. The second time I got shot was I was at the same age my father was when he got murdered.
Oh, wow.
So I said, you know, I got to be a generational curse breaker, you know, and I changed my life actually for my son, you know. I started going to church because my son needed to see a father figure, right? You know, and that's from that day forth. That's where I just been.
Now, when you the first time you got shot, you didn't have kids. Or
yep, my son was. He probably was about 3 months.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he probably about 3 months, and then when I got shot the second time, I still just had a son. I didn't have my daughters until I got married and saved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have? No.
Now, speaking of family, I think I'm maybe going back a little bit. I have to ask you this. I heard that there was kind of a beef with your family and another family, and the person who described it to me said it's kind of was like the Hatfield and McCoys. Can you speak a little about that, or is it something you can't speak about or care to speak about?
Well, there was street beef amongst families. You know, it's not a secret. You know.
Did you have a large family? Was that you had a large family?
Pretty much. And so in Providence, I had a family. We were the last of the family, and we were beefing all the time with the Brown family. And it was like an ongoing beef all the time. And we were probably considered the most hardcore families in Providence, you know. And, you know, some things transpired through that. You know, and we felt like our uncles, they were friends, but because we felt like they probably didn't have the guidance or the know-how, they could have really diffused the beef amongst us, you know what I mean? And it never happened like that. And, people got shot, people got hurt, I got 2 cousins now that were accused of killing one of them. And I was in the church at the time. I wasn't even in the streets no more. And they're the ones that end up doing life in prison, for that. But that was a ongoing feud. And it's like, even today, it's like the younger kids in the other family, like, still want to, like, live on a legacy that they don't even own. They don't even know how it began.
Right.
And I've talked to some of the young guys, like, man, you don't even know nothing about this. Like, it's a dead issue. It's over.
Right. Because it's really been it's from the time you were at it's been resolved for that generation, correct? But these young kids are saying, well, the Jones and Browns, they're
they still want to keep it going. But when you don't have a sense of direction and the older people in your family are drug addicts or still running the streets, you're not going to get the guidance that you need to go to the next level, And so, I mean, Providence has a habit of they'll lock somebody up without really, doing the research,
right.
Stuff like that, So, and it's strange now because the very people I have a relationship with now, I would never when I was in the street. like I got the mayor on speed dial, the chief of police on speed dial.
Imagine that.
I'm fully connected to change, So it's like if I go to the table, the community knows that I'm going to the table. I'm being real at the table. I'm not selling my community out. I'm for my community 100%. And I actually work now at the Nonviolence Institute as a victim advocate, and so my life has to become nonviolence.
Yeah.
So now I'm breathing, sleeping, and
right.
Nonviolence is what I do.
Right. Now that change, do you think that could have happened? Well, we don't know without God in your life. Or, I mean, it's possible, but
it's definitely possible. I think me coming to Christ and coming to church, it gave me accountability to stick to the change. And when you, me, I got felonies. I had felonies in the streets, and nobody would give me a job. So it's like, just go back to the game. Sell drugs and be happy, get your cars back and your music and all this stuff. And I put my trust in God. My family was like my mom, my grandma, and them. They never was in the welfare system. They always had good jobs. They own houses, and so I had that backing for me, So it's like, man, we're gonna buy this guy some shoes, some slacks. We're gonna keep him from going back out there. And then when I got involved in, working in the streets, I was a part of creating a march called No More Murder March. We marched through the streets of Providence 3 times. I did so much that the Attorney General, they expunged all my records.
Wow.
Yeah, I have no record no more.
Unbelievable. That's a blessing. Wow.
And when I went to a lawyer said, you'll never get that expunged.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, my faith is big. One of the main reasons why I wanted to expunge it so I could get a good job, but I had a good job with the felonies because people were trusting me now that this guy's really changed,
Yeah.
And so, it was good.
Talk about redeemed, huh?
Come on now.
That's
As a pastor, though, having the background you do with the streets must give you more credibility with the.
It does. And so when I grew up in church, I grew up more in a dominant church, it was like real hardcore holiness of hell, and it's like, and I started preaching like that, and it was like, it's turning people off.
That's what you knew, and that's how you started.
And that's what I knew. But once I realized, wait a minute, I'm not helping, I'm damaging people. We go to church, we know we can end up in hell. We know that we're doing wrong. I don't need to be beat over the head with it. And so when I begin to shift the way I taught, and people are more leaning towards God, because we always hear what we can't do.
Yeah.
And it's like, God's not a mean God,
Right.
And so I opened up my church in 2005. Prior to that, I was a pastor at the King's Cathedral. I was pastor of outreach and evangelism, and then I opened my own church. So now I'm going on 17 years when I was in ministry. And so now I started off at Victory Outreach Center, then I became Judah Multicultural Church. And then one of the best decisions I made was linking up with Pastor Tony, and becoming Restoration Church, Providence campus. And so when people say, how long you been in ministry, I say 5 months.
Yeah. It's a new,
because it's
new start,
right? You can't bring the old into the new.
Right. Right, you can't put old wine in
it's not
new wine in old wineskins.
Yeah, the bus.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So we'll get back more onto that. So now you also had a partner in crime. His name was Dennis.
Yeah, that's
and you started a program with him, correct?
Yeah, we started a program called Curse Breakers Outreach Program. He was my right hand man. We actually found out we were family through marriage and stuff like that, and we really ran the streets hard. And he actually is working at the Rhode Island Training School. He's a shift coordinator. He's been there for a while, and like he doesn't come to church, but he was in church, and things happen. He went through a divorce, different things like that, and as men, some things set us back, but he's a good dude. When we started this program in 1999, we actually was the first people to start a basketball league inner city basketball league with 120 kids playing basketball during the summer.
Wow.
Brand new jerseys. We get donations from state reps, to run basketball leagues. I remember one time we was running a league and the guy came out on the court with a gun and he was gonna shoot this dude, and I walked up on him. And I said, man, you ain't shoot nobody on this basketball court. And he said, who do you think you are? I said, it's not about who do I think I am. It's what you're not going to do in front of all these people. And he walked away. Wow. And when he got up the street, he started doing something with the gun. Next thing you know, cops had him. And he was locked up, But we used to play gospel music. People knew what we stood for, And then we did programming in some of the schools, middle schools. We do programs like Rated R. She talk about video vixen. We used to talk about a little bit of everything, just trying to change the culture, of what the stigma is on our black and brown kids, you know what I mean? And so we did it for a long time. It worked well.
Now that program is...
Well, right now, we still have we're still registered program with the state and stuff, but we haven't done anything in a while because so many programs came out, and then as we became more family men and changing our lives, we couldn't dedicate all our time to just that, because the finances wasn't there, But I help write a lot of programs in this city that are doing very well.
Right, and one of them is called Focus. Is that one of them?
So Focus was a part of Curse Breakers.
Was it?
Okay. Yeah.
And that's fundamentals on creating
unlimited success. It was a curriculum that we wrote because I worked in a training school for a little bit. Worked for the American program, which was founded by Jim Brown. And so I worked with him in the training school for a while. Then I opened my program after that because his program kind of stopped, and I was like, what are we going to do now? And we used that curriculum to about maybe 2004. But it's hard to do programming without funding.
Right, and it's we spoke when we were with Matt, I believe his friend was a state trooper, about crime and the community, and that's it. You got to invest in the youth, especially inner city youth. That's how you make changes. You got to start from there. Especially like you said, coming from Baltimore. Look at that right there. Children without fathers. That's the biggest thing.
My cousin is a homicide detective in Baltimore.
Wow.
This is his last year. He's going to retire.
Oh, wow.
That can't be an easy job.
He's seen it all.
Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah,
seen it all.
Homicide detective in Baltimore.
Yeah, he's seen it all.
They made a show about it. It's called The Wire.
Yeah,
it really is.
The Wire is it's real.
Yeah. Wow.
The streets are just they're like that right now.
Right. So, what do you? I read something about you. Were you working on a book? Did you ever write a book? Or
I started working on a book called The Anatomy of a Curse Breaker, and I paused it for a little bit because once I was going into a new marriage, new life, ministry changing, I said I got to add more to the book, because if I'd have wrote the book then, I had to rewrite it because I got a whole new life now.
Right.
So I mean, it's still in the works. I need to get back to it. You know, that's one of my projects. You know,
Now,
to eventually do it.
What is there other things you're doing in the process? Now I know you said I think I saw a picture of you with was it like a Stop the Violence thing? Or
Recently?
Yeah.
So that was me. A good childhood friend, Dwayne Boo Hackney. He's a barber in Providence. Mm-hmm. He's probably cut the heads of a lot of dead guys.
Wow.
You know, you know, we've done a lot in the community. My friend Archie, we used to be rivals, and now we're on the same team this way. You know. And the guy that's standing next to me, was a new appointed head of state troopers. And then he had, you know, his the guy that walks around with him. And so that was based on what happened in Buffalo. And that was in front of my job, the Nonviolence Institute. And they were just talking about, you know, how we feel as a black community, you know, seeing what happened there, you know, stuff like that, you know. And I said, you know, it was tragic.
Right.
You know, when I seen it, I thought I was watching like a simulator. Like
I thought it looked like a video game, right?
Yeah, it looked like a. So I said,
"Did you see that?
There's no way that's
yeah,
real."
I saw the footage.
Yeah. It looked actually like someone playing a video game.
Yeah,
and it was spooky, and you had to question it for a minute. Is this what I'm seeing? Like, it's crazy.
And it says one lady was like 85 years old.
Yeah,
you know, it's like, man.
And just now, we just had recently the school shooting
children.
in Texas.
Man. You know, that was tragic, man. And then you have Border Patrols, the one that shot the guy. Mm-hmm. But the police officers on the scene were more worried about getting their family members.
Yeah, we just read that earlier.
You know, and you know, everybody in that school mattered, not just your family members. You know, protect and serve. You know, and it's just like 91 minutes, like whatever was going through his mind.
Yeah. So what are your opinions on protecting our kids? So just now that we're speaking on it.
Well, I think awareness starts at home. Mm-hmm. You know, making our kids aware of their surroundings, the importance of staying at school, not bunking class, and just these things like this. These shootings are inevitable. Right. You don't know. The school needs to beef up its, you know, security. Mm. You know, them doors need to stay locked. You know, how he got into school, well, God knows. Right. You know, but I just believe it starts at home, and we need to keep putting our kids through different programs, and you know, because our kids are gone all day, they're not with us. You know, so we get to see them a little bit at breakfast time, depending on what time you got to go to work. You know, by the time you get out of work, they come home. It's a little bit of work and it's bed. You know, and that's how our kids, you know, really lose out. You know, but
if you think about it, the school should be the safest place they could possibly go.
Yes, it should be. You know, but unfortunately, I think because these predators know they're supposed to be the safest place, they make sure it's not. Yeah. You know, and even this guy, they said that, you know, he was traumatized as a kid, bullied in elementary. So it's like, man, all these years, that's just been sitting dormant. Yep. And his head is like, today I'm gonna go get revenge for what they did to me. Yeah. You know,
but that, you know, that we were all bullied. Everyone's been bullied at one time in their life. You know, I just think that I keep hearing that bullying, but we've all been. I mean, I'm sure there's worse bullying than others, but that can't be the only reason, because we've all been bullied pretty badly, you know, here and there.
I think for some people are struggling with mental illness. Yeah. You know, and, you know, some kids are on different type of pills.
Yeah, exacerbates that.
Yeah. I worked in a school called a Valley School. It was restraining kids all day. Yeah. And I'm like, we go to work to restrain people's kids. They're supposed to be getting education. Right. But then they're on all these different type of medications. And I'm like, is the medication helping or is it making them worse? Right. And we know medicine is a big business. You know, now that we are legalized weed in the state of Rhode Island, you can ride around with weed now legally.
Did it pass?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay. Yesterday was like, you know.
So you don't even need.
They're wiping out people that have charges. I know I saw that too. Anybody who has charges with marijuana, I think that they're getting rid of all the charges.
All the charges go.
So you don't need a medical card anymore. You can just.
No. Well, I mean, I believe I don't really know, but I know that like in states where it was made legal, they still had cards. Maybe the card got a discount, who knows? But, I mean, you still got your street peddlers, you know, that still got their weed and, you know, To me, I think they just capitalizing. America's capitalizing off of something that they watch everybody else make money off of.
That's exactly it. Like, why don't we get a piece of the?
Well,
right now, right?
I can tell you this: that anybody that says that pot is a safe drug. Every junkie, I'm a former addict myself. Mm-hmm. Everybody I met in rehab all started with weed.
Yeah.
So it's this.
That's the entry drug.
This misnomer that weed's just a safe drug. Every junkie I ever met started with weed or alcohol, but weed was always mixed in with it.
Right. I mean,
so it's not as safe. It's safe, yeah, but it leads to worse. Always.
Well, nobody's starting off on not heroin or crack. I mean, I guess it's possible, but usually it's
right.
Having a sip or having a.
It's possible for kids that are in houses and their parents on crack and blowing the smoke all through the house, and next thing you know, kids addicted to it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or they're born, their mother's a drug addict.
Oh yeah,
and you're born into it.
Born like that.
You know, and even with the weed, man, they were dipping weed in, ammonia and different type of chemicals to make the weed stronger, you know what I mean? And so, of course, I want to get a little higher since I feel like I done reached the ceiling.
Right, yeah.
Now, fentanyl wasn't around when you were, thank God, but that kind of raises the stakes a little now, though. People can't even...
Fentanyl is so scary, man. With the new job I have, and we hear things that Providence doesn't hear. You don't hear how many people OD'd on fentanyl because, we want to keep Providence beautiful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We want Newport to be beautiful.
Yeah.
And I realized that, last year I think we had 450 overdoses. Not everybody died, but that's a lot.
That's a lot.
And when they're raiding houses, they're getting 50,000 pills of fentanyl, 30,000 pills of fentanyl. And I'm like, wait a minute, we don't create fentanyl.
Yeah.
We're not the manufacturer of fentanyl. Right. So how is all that getting to the community? You know? Just makes you wonder sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, my doctor showed me pills that showed me samples of pills that were made. They were just like Vicodin and what else you call Xanax, Percocet. They were all filled with fentanyl.
Yeah. And because they got these guys in the streets, they're getting it pure. They don't know how to cut this thing. You could just a little speck of fentanyl will kill you.
Right.
So when they're trying to make these pills so they can make their money, they're not real. There was a bad batch of fentanyl going around maybe like 2-3 months ago where everybody was dying. And
so much fentanyl in it.
My wife's cousin, she took a pill and never woke up. And people are taking them. Most people are taking them not because they want to be high, because they're depressed. They want to go to sleep at night. They're in pain. And not realizing that one pill you take,
right? Absolutely,
you don't wake back up.
Yeah, it's a death sentence just from that one decision.
I know a guy that went to prison. He come out of prison. Man, he did like 13 years. This guy wasn't even home 2 days. Took a pill, never woke up.
No.
It's tough. That's tough. Like you say, it's not made here, so someone's making it.
Yeah,
But
so. I noticed now that the march. We said you had a march. Was that No More Murder? Is that the No More Murder Inc.?
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
So
that's what's going on now, right?
Well, we did it years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say maybe it was like 2000.
Okay.
Maybe for like 3 years in a row. We did when we started on Broad Street, in front of which was a barbershop my friend owns that I was in the picture with. We started at his barbershop. We walked from there to the McDonald's area where all the homeless people hang out now, Broad Street. And we ended there. We just, different guys got up and gave speeches. That night there was no shootings, no nothing. Then we did another one on Cranston Street. I had a church on Cranston Street, so we actually marched from my church around to the Armory Park, and at the Armory Park we had a stage and music and different artists. That night there were a few shootings, nobody got killed. And then we did another one where we marched downtown Providence. Actually, we started from the east side and walked downtown, ended up in Kennedy Plaza. We did another one there, and it was just to bring awareness, try to bring unity, and it's tough when we're a small state. So in a small city, and it's hard to get all the mothers in the room who lost their sons when your son did this, your son did that. You know what I mean?
So
and
small.
Yeah, you got to be real careful doing that because you're opening up a wound
right.
That never was healed, and so I felt that it was very, I felt it was good that we did it, we just recently talked about doing it again, even though we haven't had many murders, but you want to get it now. You don't want to wait till it starts happening.
Right.
I remember last summer? It was crazy.
Yeah,
crazy. It was crazy. Yeah. Right? Weren't they in like the top percentage of the United States?
Yes, in a small place like this.
Imagine.
Yeah, the biggest thing, choice of weapon in Rhode Island is a knife.
Is it?
Man, there's people get stabbed every week. Oh. Yeah, every week. You'll never hear it on the news, but the stabbing is serious, and it's like, to me, it's worse than getting shot.
Oh yeah.
You stick that thing in there, and you pull that thing out, and
Would you say the majority of all that violence is drug related, some way or another?
No, some of them are. A lot of stuff is domestic violence.
Oh,
there's a high uptick in domestic violence right now. Mm-hmm. In my job, I've seen a lady get murdered. Domestic violence. 2 ladies. I don't know. I don't know what goes through a man's mind where he wants to kill the person he says he loves.
Right.
But then when you're not them, you don't know.
Right. Like you said, mental illness. Could be drugs involved with that, or crimes of passion.
Yeah.
A lot of.
Yeah, a young lady that was killed in Providence. The one it was all the news. They put in the refrigerator. Refrigerator. That guy had a history since the 80s of doing things to women. That guy should have been put in the prison.
Right.
A psych ward or something. And it's almost like we always wait till it's too late.
And I thought years back they were like no more tolerance with the domestic violence, right?
That goes in and out.
Yeah.
With, depending on who politicians are in or not.
Yeah. And then you got higher ups that are doing it. So they gotta soften the crime up a little bit.
That's true.
Back in the day, it was like if you get caught with powder cocaine, it's a lesser charge. If you get caught with crack, you do more time.
Right.
Any crack dealer knows is only baking soda makes it crack.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's like, why is it 20 more years? Because we added baking soda to it.
Because cocaine's a rich man.
There you go.
Yep.
Rich man's drug, and they don't want him to do time when he gets caught. So it's crazy.
Yeah. So what's going on as far as, can we get back a little bit more into your pastoring? You said you started off at, what church was it?
2005. Well, I started off at Cathedral Life.
Okay.
It was a Cathedral Life then. Started going in 2000. Was appointed pastor of outreach in 2002. But prior to that, I received my minister's license at another church. Uh-huh. And so when I got there, just kind of like, I actually was working at the training school, and they kind of took me out of training school and hired me to work at the church. And so then I started my own church in 2005, which was Victory Outreach.
Okay.
And been pastoring ever since.
Mm-hmm. Now you said, now how did you get connected with Pastor Tony?
Strangely enough, during the pandemic, my mom had COVID, and we would take her to the hospital, and I was just walking around the hospital praying on the grounds because I felt like it was military. I mean, seeing the military out there and the tents, I'm like, man, what's going on out here? And so I just began to pray. And I had met Pastor Tony one time, but just like in passing, and then, he texted me, hey, what's going on? We talk a little bit, and then pandemic time passed, and I would, check him out on Facebook, doing different things. And one day it was like, hey, they're having a retreat, married couples retreat.
Yeah.
And, I feel like if nobody invests in their marriage, they don't want their marriage. Because you got to invest, because it's, so I went to the retreat, and I don't know, I felt comfortable. Like, I felt like I was at home. I'm like, wow, it's like, some people I knew, because some of the people used to go to where I went to church, and so I was very comfortable. And then after that, I was like, hey, let's go to lunch. What you doing next week? And went to lunch, and we just began to talk. He began to speak life, and began to show me ministry in a different light, and how, you're in a, you're sitting on a harvest, and you got to till the ground and get those souls, and we've just been linked ever since.
Yeah, he seems like he talked life into you.
Yeah.
Because I think I was at I don't know if it was your ceremony for the church.
Yeah.
And I saw it online, but he it might have been before that. How I think you were very stressed. I mean, because you're pastor.
Yeah, man.
Pastorhood is like serious business.
It has its pros and cons.
Yeah.
And I think when you, after a while, like, I have a passion for people, and so it's like you can't pastor if you don't have a passion for people.
Right.
Number one, and then you get to a certain stage, and you get to a certain stage as a visionaire where you don't see growth. You can get frustrated, and tired, worn out. And so, at one time I used to take vacation all the time, like break away from ministry. And I just got into a season where it was years I didn't, and it was like, man, you need a life jacket. You need to take a break, and I took a little break and just recoup, and so, I got a lot of family. I got three children in my marriage, and then I had my own 3 children. I got grandkids, so it's like I got to juggle everything now,
Right.
And it was like I got to the point. I said, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna close the church and just join North Providence,
Yeah.
And we sat down. He was like, "No, that's not God's plan.
Wow.
God's plan for you to keep pastoring and doing what you're doing, and develop pastors and leaders where you are, and let them take the ministry and run with it, And so that's what I've been doing, and it's like a breath of fresh air, And a lot of people say, "Oh, you're thinking of Pastor Tony?" People see big church, they see money, and I'm like, my relationship with him has nothing to do with money.
Yeah.
My relationship has to do with growth, discipleship.
Right.
You know what I mean? And God's doing it. Like when the men came, he said, "I'm gonna send the men over to the church. They're gonna paint the church and they're gonna do this." I'm like, "Really? Like what?"
Because you didn't experience that before. That kind of,
And one day the church was painted, and I'm like, "Okay." He said, "Anything else you want to do?" I said, "Well, let's take the stage down. Take the stage down, put a different stage up." And so it's just North Providence is, I mean, it used to be North Providence Assembly to me for years, but Restoration Edge is they got the right pastor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Pastor Tony's great.
A lot of pastors love that man because he's real. And I think the most relevant thing, he's a man about marriage and family.
Right.
That's like key. You cannot build church. I've been in church where the children get neglected.
Right.
Because you want to speak in tongues and you want to go to all these services. And, some people I didn't even know they had kids because I never seen their kids in church.
Yeah, I know that. I've heard that like a lot of pastors' children have a lot of issues because of that, right?
We got pastors' children that are in jail, strung out, confused, hurt, because I don't know, the old way of things, they took on this thing where like, I got to be sold out for the church, not if you got a family.
Right.
Your family comes before the church.
Right.
Because then what do you tell other families that come to church and say, "Hey, I'm struggling"? Oh, you are? Like,
Yeah, you build outward from your family.
Yeah.
Well, they're spending all day helping everybody else's family but their own.
So they get burnt out, and then when comes time for their family, I guess they have nothing to give for them, which it shouldn't be like that.
And one thing, I know Pastor Tony said he was watching how I dealt with my family.
Oh, yeah.
To decide how he deals with me.
He was watching you.
Yeah. And I don't know how to fake that.
No.
You know what I mean? Like I'll do anything for my children. They're older. My son travels the country, playing music. Every year he's overseas for like 3 months playing for the Harlem Gospel Choir. And he plays different genres of music. And the church said, "Oh, he's playing the devil's music." So I say, it's work. He's a producer.
Right.
That's what he does. I said, I don't work. When I go to work, it's not church. I get a secular job, pays bills, And so when you're in music, it's just a passion and it's what you hide in your heart.
Yeah. You said he did work for Dr. Dre? Or was that somebody else?
No, a good guy to me. It was like a brother to me. He went to Berkeley. Okay. And he ended up getting picked out of Berkeley and sent and went with Dr. Dre.
Okay.
To do music. And, back then Dr. Dre kept working on this album, like a Chronic album, never came out. but he was very significant in helping. But also he did like stuff like 50 Cent. He wrote music for Eminem, Busta Rhymes, all type of.
Wow.
He's still up there in L.A. It's a tough playing field up there, though.
Oh, absolutely.
It's nothing to play with. Yeah.
So tell me about your other family. I know your wife is involved in your ministry.
My wife's very involved in ministry. My wife's a praying woman, and she, she'll pray day and night if she has to, and so she's helped, in our type of church world, they say, the pastor should make his wife the co-pastor, and I'm just like, I went the opposite way. It's she's supposed to be the co-pastor. It says who? Like, where's that scripture? Like, I believe in women preachers. I believe in all that, but I believe that my wife has her own life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so if we're colleagues and we're in church, and it's like, wait a minute, what about her dreams and her visions and her passion?
Right.
She want to go to school, do what she got to do. Like, church doesn't be her thing.
Right.
But for my wife to not ever been in church ever before in her life, you would never believe that.
I saw her when I went to your church, and she's got passion.
Yeah,
she was on fire.
Yeah,
you wouldn't know it. How long has she been involved in the church?
Maybe about 8 years.
Okay.
Yeah, about 8 years.
I think she would have grown up in the church.
Yeah, and she has a great family in Providence. She's an O'Connor, and O'Connor's very well known in Providence, man. Her uncles are very well known. Very I say studious people. Wasn't that ghetto type family. Are very studious. So she was fortunate. Her dad died when she was 13. Her mom's still living, and she's great.
Yeah.
I mean, she's doing her thing, man. I wouldn't stop her for nothing. I know pastors become jealous of their wives because their wives seem to be excelling more in ministry. But to me, your wife is the backbone of who you are.
Absolutely. Yeah.
She's your intercessor more than anybody is. And she has to deal with the good, the bad, and ugly that people don't see.
Right.
And so, I appreciate her.
So your children, you said you have a son who's involved in music, and then
my son is involved in music. He plays at a church in Bridgeport. It's a mega ministry. They picked him up, man. He was like, Dad, do you mind if I go play keyboard? I said, man, you better pursue everything that God has for you. I'm not gonna hold you hostage here, and then you resent me for the rest of your life, and I know how music works. My youngest daughter, she plays drums. He taught her. She only played drums for 3 years, and she is phenomenal.
Wow.
Dad didn't teach her?
Yeah.
I didn't teach her nothing. I'm like, I like hear her play, but I don't even want to get on the drums. I'm gonna stay in retirement. Yeah, my other daughter sings. I mean, she's a powerhouse, man. She leads my praise and worship in my church.
I think she sang when I was there.
Yeah. And then my wife's children, her daughters both can sing. They both can dance. Her son, our son is 15. He's being a boy. He wants to ride motorcycles and bike life and wheelie the bike up and down the street. But he's very inquisitive. He's very smart. All of our kids are not serving the Lord how we want them, but in God's time.
Right.
You know what I mean? I still love my kids regardless of what's going on in their life.
Absolutely.
So when you look back when you were younger, the younger you, do you look at your life as everything happens for a reason? Like you're like you wouldn't change anything as far as so you being shot led to you getting to this point, sort of?
I believe eventually I would have went back to my roots of church, and I just think that if I could change some things, I probably I don't know. Like some people say, I would have never got married, but then I wouldn't have my kids.
Right.
My kids, like I wouldn't trade them for the world. You know what I mean? So, of course, I probably would have changed how I, handle my health. I am more healthy now than I was when I was 18 years old. I don't have diabetes no more, no high blood pressure. I don't take 30 pills a day no more. I was on 30 pills a day, man, and it's like, every day is an inspiration for me to keep moving forward. But I don't know what I would change because the things that I would have changed, I already started changing them. So
right. And I mean, the life that you led, like you said, it's your testimony, how God worked in your life and how he brought you from that to where you are now. And even in that, in your past experiences, you can help people, you know, because you've been through it. Like people, kids on the street doing wrong things. You did it. You've done that, and you can relate. So God has a plan for everybody.
Well, you're right. Like when I was an addict, the people that help you the most are former addicts, ex-addicts that know what you went through. You know, that's what I'm saying. On the streets, you must be, you're a world of knowledge because you've been there. You know,
and as preachers, teachers, elders, phenomenal people that are strung out right now. You know, and those are people we got to reach. They're the future. You know, we can't look at them as like, oh, they're washed up. They're never going to change. You know, even like the tent cities. There's preachers in tent city that they're just there, but nobody wants to witness to them. Nobody wants to tell them that Jesus loves them. Right. Of course, they go to soup kitchen and hear Jesus loves them, but sometimes you got to walk and you got to disciple people, man. You know,
you got to build that rapport with them, right?
Yeah. There was a lady that got me off the street. Wasn't even a man. There's men in church. They wouldn't even talk to me.
Yeah.
You know, I remember being shot, sitting on the porch, my wounds wide open. The pastor comes over. Instead of talking to me, he's looking around, thinking somebody's going to come by and shoot. Yeah. You know, instead of speaking life. You know?
Yeah.
And I was like, if God hasn't given us a spirit of fear, power, love, and a sound mind, don't worry about that. You know. Right. I mean, and, you know, we'll be good to go, you know. But, you know, we need more men. Like, what I love about Restoration, too, is men are there. Man, at men's ministry, and that's powerful. You know, especially when you get men to get in a room and talk. You know, because we don't talk.
No, no, just like, to open up and
we're like
talk.
Personal secret agents. You know,
absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Powerful. When you get men around other godly men, it can be powerful. We're supposed to be leaders of the church.
Yeah, and you could be transparent, man, and
nobody judges you.
Yeah, and then you went through something that somebody in this room went through, and they overcame it, and it's like, wow, you know.
Yeah, there's nothing like your testimony. You can tell people, quote scriptures all day long to people, and they don't know the Bible, but you know we're like the Bible to them, and to know your testimony and say where God brought you from, like you said before, that's so powerful.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So you know, best decision I ever made.
Excellent. Yeah. Now, I see that you have a life scripture, Romans 12:1-2. Why that scripture?
Because I believe in that scripture. It was just like, you know, I'm not going to be conformed to the world. You know, I'm going to transform my mind. I'm going to renew. And that just stuck out there. That was the first sermon I ever preached. You know, and I was in a hardcore environment. And it's crazy because when I preached it, but I preached my lifestyle with it. And when I look around the church, when I got done preaching, the pastor stopped the service and made everybody get on their knees and repent.
Wow.
You know, and I was just like, wow, you know, and I was like new. I was only 3 years in, and it was like, you're going to go on this platform service and do this because I believe it's in you. And, you know, you know, every day is a challenge, you know, and it's like, the Bible says we die daily. So it's like, you know, you're going to make mistakes. I don't care if you're the Pope. I don't care who you are. You're going to make mistakes as long as you've got this flesh, you know, and the Bible says the heart is deceitful and wicked. Who can know it? You know, I mean, we all have our issues. We all have our problems. You know, we're all addicted to something. Right. You know what I mean? And
something's always your master, right?
It's something's there. You know what I mean? And so, and that's why I say every day your testimony stretches. You know, every day I wake up, I'm breathing. God still got a plan for me. The plan ain't over. You know.
Right. Yeah. And at the beginning of that scripture says to offer our bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God, right? That's a true and proper worship. So it's all about humbling yourself.
Yeah. It's not easy.
Surrendering. No, especially the men, us, like you're talking about the men with the pride.
We got pride, we got jealousy, we got envy, you know, and, you know, that's who God created us to be. You know what I mean? We're created to be, you know, leaders, you know, there's an alpha male in all of us, you know what I mean? And sometimes it rises up, you know, and it's, you know, but God, you know, being in church for me is a breath of fresh air, you know, has its challenges, but I just know that God is faithful. You know, I come a long way, man, you know, and I come a real long ways.
Absolutely. So what is next for Pastor Sherrod Jones?
I'm going to keep building my ministry, you know, and I want to take the city of Providence. You know what I mean? I really want to transform lives one at a time. You know what I mean? Until you see the evidence of it. I just, that's just a passion, man. Like to just see that, and then I want to see my family grow. Yep. You know what I mean? I want to see my family, remain doing ministry and doing what God called them to do. Hopefully in 10 years I can retire.
All right.
From pastoring, but not, preaching the gospel.
Right. Right.
Yeah. But and I'm staying on my health journey. We should be dying of natural causes.
Absolutely, long life. So because God needs you. God can use you. Like even if you said if you retire and pastor in 10 years or so, you're still doing His work, regardless of where you are. That's what we talked to our first guest, Kevin Dodge. What did he say? He Ubers now, and he preaches the word to his passengers. So it doesn't matter if you're behind a pulpit or behind the steering wheel, right?
Yeah, we got to be a church without walls.
Absolutely.
We come in, iron sharpens iron, but then we go back into the field. Yeah. And that's one thing we don't find too much in the church. Nobody wants to go into the field. Everybody wants to preach. Yeah. Everybody wants to get the microphone, and everybody wants to do something inside. But go out there where Jesus would be. Right. I believe Jesus would be at the nightclub. He'd be anywhere where there's drama, violence, because He knows He can change the world. And so if greater works shall we do, why are we not doing what Jesus did?
Absolutely.
Jesus had no church.
Yep. Yeah. So that's what Pastor Tony always says, an equipping church.
Yeah.
You go to church to build, get equipped,
train, and
you go out
there.
To the world.
It says go out to the hedges and highways, and really, we can't look at people like, oh, you're in sin. Like, we got to forget we were in sin too.
We were there.
And even to this day, we're all going to still fall short. We're all going to, it says just man falls 7 times, but it gets back up. It didn't say a sin, it said a just man, right. So, I mean, and it says the righteous will scarcely make it in. So where does that leave us? We got to stay on our post. We got to keep pushing. Right. We can't look at people, oh, they don't want God. No, everybody needs a chance.
Absolutely.
Everybody needs a chance.
There, even if it's just planting a seed.
Yeah. And what I like about my ministry is I understand. I understand the streets, I understand drug addicts, I understand it all. So it's easy for me to deal with that crowd that nobody wants to deal with. Oh, no, you need to have an upper class church. I'm like, for what? Like, so, we can walk around and forget about what Jesus done.
And you're where they need the help the most.
Yeah, man. We get on the street, pass out food, and it's like, oh, you're around them guys. Why not? It's like they're not gonna hurt us. They're not gonna harm us. They'll actually protect you quicker than anybody.
That is true.
Yeah,
that is true.
Yeah,
Oh, you had your mouth open.
No.
I keep looking at Al, and he's got his mouth open, like he's gonna say something.
His mind.
I think he's just taking in everything you're saying. Oh, wow.
I'm listening. I'm just listening.
So
I had an aunt, man, that was on heroin probably her whole, from childhood up to the day she died. She died maybe it's been about 3 years now. The interesting thing is we were born on the same day.
Wow.
Yeah. And she was one of my favorite aunts, man. And, the heroin just kept getting her and getting her. She went to rehab after rehab, went to Texas, and to Christian rehab. Mm-hmm. And that's where she found God. She's born and raised in Newport News. Mm-hmm. And this Texas, she went to really change her life. But by this time, she had like cancer in her body and stuff like that. And I remember they called me saying, tell my wife my aunt was in a coma, and to pray. I got in my car and drove to Virginia.
Wow.
And I went up in the hospital and she was incoherent, and I laid hands on my aunt and prayed. Mm-hmm. I believed God. I walked up out of there, took my kids, we went to Water Country, and on the way home they would say, she woke up. And I said, I believe God.
Yeah.
But she woke up for y'all, for y'all to get it right that don't believe. Right. And maybe a week later she was gone.
Wow.
And I said that was for them to see the manifestation of God's power. Absolutely. You know what I mean? And so, she was everything, man. You know, people write drug addicts and stuff off, man. They're loving people, man.
Absolutely.
They us. They just didn't make it out the way some of us were fortunate to do. You know? And I think you never forget where you come from. You're a survivor. You know.
Right. Yeah. You know, we don't start off in all the same place, the same surroundings, and you know, so people, you know, it's just life. People have it better than others, and you got to put, you know, if you could live a day in someone's shoes, you can understand and look it through that lens. And a lot of time we're, like you said, we're quick to judge, you know, and that's, and then we know there's only one judge, and it's not us.
That's it, and it's us, you know, and that's what makes, you know, the smaller church, the so-called black church, they're so judgmental. Like, it's sad, you know, like, I don't get it, you know.
Right.
Well, they get
it looks like you're not judgmental, Pastor Sherrod, and it looks like you're doing great things in the community, and you have a good, you know, mindset about yourself. And anybody who is looking for a church in the area of Providence, Rhode Island, anywhere in Rhode Island, come check Pastor Sherrod out at Restoration Church Providence. And what is the address of that church?
65 Narragansett Ave.
65 Narragansett Ave, Providence, Rhode Island. Check him out.
I always tell people, Reservoir Triangle or down the street from Popeye's Chicken.
Oh, everybody knows of Popeye's Chicken.
So some people come, they go to
the wrong one?
They go to Narragansett out towards Cranston off of Allen's, and they're like, where's the church? I don't see it.
And
I'm at 65, but this is not a church. You know?
And what time is your service time?
2 p.m.
2 p.m. That's nice. That's good for you late risers.
Yeah, you know. I picked that time because, you know, I always believe when you go to church, you don't smell stale liquor, stale weed. You know, you're not really doing ministry. Sometimes I feel that's how I feel. Like I want that crowd that was hung over from last night. You know, come get the gospel. You know, because I know that's what I'm called to. Right. You know,
you get to sleep in a little bit.
Yeah, get to sleep in a little bit. You know, I used to go to Restoration first out here in North Providence. You know, I want to be fed too.
Absolutely. You know? Yeah, you can do both.
Yeah, so I used to go to the 9 o'clock service, and then I go over to mine's. I was doing the 11, but then it was like cutting it close, you know. Yeah, so the 9 is just refreshing.
Right.
You know.
That's great.
Yeah.
So in closing, final thoughts. What would you like to say to our viewers? Anything, advice? Anything you'd like to say to them?
For viewers, I would say, you know, stay in the process. You know that God has a purpose and a plan for your life. Never give up. Keep pushing and get around people that, you know, will celebrate you, not tolerate you, and that will push you to the next level. Find you a good Bible teaching church or cell group, you know, small group or something, and never give up.
All right.
Never give up.
Excellent. Excellent words of encouragement.
Yes.
Well, I'm very impressed at what you do.
Yes,
and your passion for change is incredible, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And I know God is going to push you to new heights, and you're going to be helping a lot of people.
Yes, amen.
So before we go, I have a couple things. I have for you a "What's Your Story" official T-shirt.
Nice.
We can rock. Maybe you can wear it to a service or something.
I'll wear it to work.
Oh, there you go. And also, and what we do is behind you there's a bookshelf, and everyone who comes on the show is getting a book that they told their story. It has "What's Your Story" on it, your name on the binder, and a nice picture of you there. So if you can put that on the shelf, top shelf right behind you, you might want to take your headphones off so we don't
have an accident.
Yeah, we don't want them to walk away from the table.
Absolutely. So do the honors. Right next to Lauren Malloy up there. Very good. He is on the shelf of fame. You're going to do another applause hour? That's great. There's a lot of applause. Well, once again, thank you very much, Pastor Sherrod.
Thank you for doing this.
It was excellent, and we wish you well. And we thank everyone for joining us for What's Your Story, and we'll see you next time.
Yes.